Welcome to the Coffee and Turner Syndrome podcast,
where we talk all about Turner Syndrome.
I'm Brooke.
I'm Andrea.
Now let's hop
into today's episode.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Coffee and Turner Syndrome podcast. I'm Brooke.
Hello, I'm Andrea.
And it has been quite a while. We have lots to talk about.
Yes, lots of updates.
So,
lots of things to talk about.
Yes. So, do you want to start sharing what happened with you?
Yeah. So to start, I had a heart attack that started about the 30th of May. I went into the ER the 31st of May. And what happened is I had a blood clot that hit one of my major arteries, what they call, I think it's a LAD, or left anterior descending heart attack. And the clot 100% blocked it. And um, when it started, for me, it felt like a cramp and a strain. It was really uncomfortable to bend and lift and use my arm. It was in my left arm. And that had been going on for a couple of days, in at least one full day. And I thought it was a muscle strain. So I waited to see how if the pain would go away. Because I thought possibly I slept on it wrong doing Taekwondo. Maybe I strained my arm. And Sunday morning, when the heart attack was beginning, I woke up and I was not feeling good at all. And so I started feeling nauseous. So I sent a couple of texts to a couple of my friends, one of whom she lives very close to me, a couple minutes away, and saying, I need to go to the ER and I'm leaving. Well, she called to find out what was going on. I told her I need to go to the ER, uh, and I'm having chest pain. And she said, well, don't drive. I'll come and get you. And I told her, I need to get there like now. So if you can come, leave now and get here quick, or I'm going, basically. So I was like, I need to get there. And so she came and got me, got to the ER, and I was, as we were talking, I mentioned how, um, I was lucky to walk into the ER on my own, that I wasn't unconscious, um, because I was having the heart attack. But I also, while I was there, found out I was in what they call diabetic ketoacidosis, or DKA. And if you don't know, I've talked a little bit before, but if you don't know, I'm a type 2 diabetic. Have been for about 10 to 15 years, probably closer to about 15 years. Um, and my blood sugar had become unmanaged, and I'll kind of go into that in just a moment. But my blood sugar had become unmanaged, and that partly was on me. Um, and I did not realize how bad it had gotten, though. So when I was in the ER, and they checked, my blood sugar was at around 655, and my A1C was around 16.1, which means I had had pretty high elevated blood sugar levels for um, a while. And so um, that's when they told me I was in DKA. And basically, I had no insulin in my system. I was not making, like, there was way too much sugar, and my body was not able to break down the insulin. So the ketoacidosis, basically my blood became acidic. And then what happens is it starts breaking everything down. The longer that your blood becomes acidic, it can affect your kidneys, it can affect everything, it can affect your heart. It can really start breaking your organs down. Um, it's been a cause of death in diabetics. That's how you can go into a diabetic coma, um, and it can lead in death. It's not good. Um, so they had to start me on an insulin drip, and they also had to put a stent in um, my heart, and that's when I was in the cath procedure. That's when they told me I had a blood clot, and that's how the heart attack happened. Was a blood clot had developed, and part of that was due to the DKA. The high sugars created a clot probably when I had my workout. When I did Taekwondo, I believe is probably that was probably the last thing that I did that I think broke the clot off that then went up into my artery. But it was 100% blocked, and so they had to clear the clot, put a stent in, um, and then for the remaining several days, I was in the hospital for about 4.5 days following that, where I was on an insulin drip to get me out of the DKA. And then they switched me over to a long acting. Well, I was starting to take a long acting. They put me on insulin last January, a long acting insulin. Um, However, they said I need to also take the short acting insulin too. Uh, so they put me on that. And then I had to take to help my body with the DKA. I also had to take vitamins. So they put me on several drips of vitamin D, magnesium, and I had to be on magnesium for a couple days. They did a couple different infusions over 2 days with magnesium and potassium. They had to raise my potassium levels, and then also the vitamin D and all that. So, um, in short, that's what happened. Um, and part of um, I guess what I would say is a learning lesson is learning to listen to your body, learning to listen to yourself, learning to listen to those signs, because sometimes we honestly we don't know. And certain pains could be any number of factors. Um, but if you have any doubt or question, it's always, I think, probably better to um, err on the side of caution, go to the ER or get into your doctor and check.
Yeah.
Um, you know, because if I had waited any longer and didn't get there, um, I may not have been able to walk in there on myself or on my own accord, and I could have wound up going into organ failure. Um, could have passed out. Could have easily died and not survived it. Um, I'm very grateful and thankful that I did. Um, so, one of the reasons that I think it's important to share this is especially for TS women, where we do deal with cardiac issues, at times that, we need to be able to take care of ourselves
Yeah.
and listen to ourselves, and um, not be, you know, um, and don't put it off, because one of the reasons I wound up being in the position in the first place is because, um, you know, depression. And I think I might have mentioned it on the podcast. I probably did a few times. Um, but if, you're listening, you don't know. But I lost my mom um, last April. Um, we were able to have a burial for her last November. So we buried her a year ago, or coming up on a year. Um, and so and losing her, and then prior, it was also because she had early onset dementia. I was losing her even when she was physically alive. I was losing her. And so I was also grieving that. And it had been a lot going through watching her decline, um, and it was just such a whirlwind of how rapidly it got bad for her. Um, and she lived in Texas. I live about 16 hours away from her in Kansas City. Um, and it it was hard to watch. And I was kind of in this fight or flight mode, survival mode of I just had to focus on what I can do for my mom. That was my focus. And then just trying to emotionally weather the ups and downs of everything that we were going through. Trying to get my parents, we were trying to hopefully move them back to Kansas City. All of all of this over the last couple of years, and so it was just a lot. And um, so I just kind of shrunk into uh, kind of a self isolation and depression. And then once I lost my mom, um, I physically didn't have to worry about her anymore. Um, and so before that, but especially after that, my, um, I guess, self care was not there. My priority of myself and to manage my health was not there. And so while I was watching my mom die, I also was letting myself get very sick. And I had had really good diabetes management. I, had only had to start insulin because I was struggling with elevated sugars, and some of that was just due to, physical changes and stress and stuff like that. But I was put on insulin like early in 24, and so it was new, but I basically just kind of shut down and didn't care. And I was just trying to manage, you know, my day-to-day responsibilities as best as I could, making sure I got to work and everything. And so medication and all that, I just didn't care. And so unfortunately it was a somewhat conscious decision. There are some physical elements because I do believe stress can affect your body.
Absolutely.
And it's real. Um, and stress can also affect my diabetes. Um, and so that's why I feel like it was harder to manage my sugar levels um, in a way. But not taking my medicine doesn't help at all.
Yeah.
And so, um, unfortunately, what happened was basically then there was no insulin or not enough insulin in my system to help maintain my sugar levels. So probably for 6 to 8 months, um, my sugars elevated and got out of control. And then I went into DK. And, um, I wish I knew that that's what was happening to me when I realized that I was losing so much weight. Some of it was natural because I was trying to lose, um, some weight, but I was losing a rapid amount, or losing a significant amount rapidly. Um, and when I look at myself during this time, I was starting to look sick. I mean, I can see that now. And when I walked into my endocrinologist recently, one of the things they actually said was how much better I looked than last time, even. So, um, that just kind of speaks to, I'm not 100%, but I'm definitely um, much better than what I was. Um, and, managing a genetic condition can be exhausting. It really can. And, when you're diabetic and you're also having to manage that, and, um, now I have to take two types of insulin. And I have to take an insulin before I eat. Um, it can be exhausting because, I'm having to think about it all the time because I'm like, oh, how is that going to affect my sugar? But one thing I learned is it's important to take care of you. You can't, you know, um, not have yourself a priority. Um, you just you can't. I can't if I want to stay healthy. I can't afford to not take my insulin and do the things that I need to do. Um, and compared to what it was like to go into DK and have a heart attack, um, you know, taking and managing insulin is a much better thing. And I remind myself when I feel like, oh my gosh, I have to look at how many carbs and, how much sugar, something happens to have. So I know how much insulin to give myself. And basically having to now, when you have, a Turner syndrome and there's always already, plenty that you have to think about sometimes, you have diabetes on top of that and, you want to eat. And it's like, oh, well, my pancreas is lazy and I have to do its job for it now, just like everything else I have to do. Like,
It's just one more body part I have to make up for.
I know, it's like, man, I gotta do everything. My pancreas decided to do it,
Story
and
of our
you
lives.
right? Does that, I mean, not just speak story of our lives.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I gotta do the job for you. Thank you. Um, I'll just do it for you. Okay. So, now I have to think about those things and I have to do it and it can be tiring. Um, but it's a much better alternative.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I share this as sort of, um, a lesson, um, an encouragement. Please pay attention,
Yeah.
please, like you're worth fighting for, um,
Yes.
you really are. So, it's a pain, but, um, doing these things, you're worth fighting for. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Amen.
yeah,
Yeah. And I feel like these are things that, whether it's sugar levels, whether it's heart problems, um, I can get into my stuff in a few minutes, but especially with the heart problems, like we are already at a disadvantage with that. Like we're already at a higher risk. And being women makes us even more vulnerable because heart attack symptoms do not always present themselves like the standard heart attack symptoms for women.
right.
The ones that are talked about when they do, heart attack awareness, and these are the symptoms to look out for, heart attacks can present very differently in women, and it can be subtle enough to be more dangerous because it can go undiagnosed
Yeah,
for longer.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we have, of course, even more work to do to pay attention to things to actually take care of ourselves.
right. Yeah, yeah. Um, it just puts in, I think, sort of like a even bigger reality or greater reality, I think, of, um, the things that, we have to deal with, whether it's the heart issues, or diabetes. And sometimes both can go hand in hand. And, we were looking at the statistics or the correlation anyway. And there is a correlation, especially with like diabetes and like with women in Turner syndrome,
Yeah.
the heart issues, I didn't have like any history of clotting. Like we don't have any like history of any kind of condition that causes clotting issues or anything like that in my family. And but it was elevated sugars that contributed to development of this clot. And uh, I also, and I think I've talked about this, there's another spot that oddly enough that didn't come into play, um, but that I was aware of, that I was like, well, maybe it was a dissection, because I have a coarctation,
Yeah.
but that wasn't the issue this time, thankfully. But there's a couple of spots, one that's enlarged, but it's been fairly stable, like it hasn't changed. Now I am getting an updated scan, either later this month or next month. I'm going to get an updated scan to check and see if there's any change. But it's one that still has to be monitored. Um, and so I have to be pretty aggressive with that and monitor it. I hadn't even last time I saw my cardiologist was in 2019.
Mm.
And part of it was my cardiologist retired, and I wanted to find a cardiologist, still through the KU medical system, um, that uh, that I could transfer my care to. And I was landing on a couple of the cardiologists that I was thinking about, but I hadn't gotten to a point where I was um, going in to make an appointment and get established. Um, but I had to do that now. So,
Yeah.
um, that kind of made that like I have to do it now. Um, but hopefully, that still looks good. But that's going to require a different procedure, um, if that needs to be medically addressed. But knowing that, it's still a daily thing that I have to think about, because it's like, well, you know, um, if I'm not paying attention to that, then knowing what happened to me, I mean, it could be that spot next time. Who
Yeah.
knows? That could happen again. So it's just, it's really important to be mindful of those things. And the tricky part though is they can present very differently, like
Yeah.
you were saying. And it's scary. It is scary because, like my stepdad, even, he had a heart attack, um, way back, but he had a heart attack, and he was about 95% blocked, um, when he had it. And so sometimes, unfortunately, those things don't get caught until it kind of becomes a bigger issue.
Yeah.
So it's always good to be proactive. And that's why I would always recommend too, if you already, if you have a chance, even if it's at a conference or whatever, get one of those free screenings, get a free echocardiogram, just so you kind of have some baselines and some idea
Yeah.
of your, particular situation
Yeah.
and where you're at. And, ideally there'd be nothing to worry about. But, trying to catch those things. Um, but
Yeah.
if anyone wants to know what it feels like to have a heart attack, you are more than welcome to reach out to me, and I can tell you, because now that I mean, it can be different in everyone, but I can tell you, um, at least from my experience, what it felt like. And I would say, if you think you're having those symptoms, better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Well, and
know, go in, get it checked.
it's so easy myself to get into a mindset of, oh, everything's always been fine. But
Yeah,
I found out that doesn't matter. It can change still.
yeah,
like like the aortic dissection is not just a, oh, you check it once, if it's not happening you're good.
right.
um and so those things aren't like, it can develop at any time. that stuff can
Yep.
change. So that's why keeping on top of it is so important. And I think I'm learning even more how much more work it takes for us to take care of ourselves, because it's like our bodies work against itself. Like, I feel like to some extent it's like, well, there's not, like, it just feels like everything falls apart.
Right. Yeah,
And
it's like, hey, you
it
do it for me. Like I was kind of joking. It was like, hey,
it's just like, I don't know, because so I feel like it really, I feel like our experiences really connect, and though they're different issues, uh they're both very indicative of just how on top of things Turner syndrome makes you be.
oh yeah, yeah. Like,
Um,
we really honestly don't get, you know, the chance to, I mean, if we want to be healthy, you
yeah,
know, we have to be on top of things. And it can be a lot.
yeah,
It can be a lot.
yeah. We don't get
But
the just sit back and, things will take care of
yeah,
themselves.
yeah,
Nope,
yeah,
not a thing. Not a
yeah.
thing for us. So, especially our our situations are even more similar than well, not again, not the actual like health concerns wise, because totally different body parts. But
Right.
um so I had to have, basically, I haven't really been describing it this way, but I basically had to have, I mean, it is, I just don't want to admit it to myself. It was emergency gallbladder surgery. I had to have my gallbladder removed very quickly after getting to the hospital. I got there at like 1:30 to the ER, and I had surgery at about 8 o'clock that night.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
8:30 ish was when they rolled me into surgery. And um so I really feel like I've struggled with being good about taking care of myself and gotten out of the habit of the good habits I did have taking care of myself, also because of depression. Like, I feel like when I got worse with them, like, that's when that started.
Mhm.
When we first started trying to figure out infertility stuff, what we wanted
Mhm.
to do, how we were going to handle it, all of that. At first, I was okay. I was like, I had to grieve being diagnosed with ovarian failure and all of that, but we were making progress. Like, we were figuring things out. And then adoption proved a longer and harder process than anyone could have anticipated for us. I don't know of anybody else that has taken as long to get to the point where we are. 6 years from when we first started paperwork. Six
Oh wow.
years
Yeah.
of thinking about it, of trying to get there, of all of the obstacles we got through. And if I'm honest, towards the end, and maybe this is why other things started dropping off too, like, I just got so out of, depression brings uninterest in things.
Mhm. Yep.
And I got into such, especially towards the end, before things started looking like, okay, maybe there is a chance. Um, I got into a very deep depression. Like, it was really hard for me to feel hopeful about things. And I think that whole process from the beginning till now broke those habits I had of actually being better about taking care of myself. Now
Yeah.
there's diet choices, there's needing to get more exercise, there's doing all of the normal things I know to do, but there's also like being in a habit with my HRT and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that that I just got so out of habit, and I don't know. I feel like that's when that started though. And it kind of just
Yeah.
got worse and worse, and now I feel like I'm dealing with the ramifications of that. Like it all kind of built
Yeah.
up to, okay, now I've put my well, I knew it wasn't great, but until that happened where they were like, "No, you need that out right now." I didn't know how bad. I didn't know, like, it wasn't even just gallstones in my gallbladder. My gallbladder itself was infected. And uh, so for I don't know how long, my body had been fighting that infection, trying to keep it at bay or get rid of it for, I don't, months at least. I'm
Mm-hmm.
probably. And part of me kind of feels like this is like, Kate, this is my turning point. Like, that wasn't good, that wasn't fun. I don't know if I could have made any immediate changes to avoid it, but either way, this is how sensitive I am. Like, this is what I need to do. And um it just, and I put this in a just a video I did on my channel, talking about, like, it really reminded me I can't delay taking care of myself. I can't put it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's always the analogy, like on an airplane, put your mask on first. And
Mm-hmm.
logically it makes sense, right? Like, of course, because if you can't breathe, you can't help somebody else because you'll be passing out not breathing.
Right. Yeah.
But realistically, when it doesn't feel like that scenario where it's oh, I can't breathe,
Yeah.
it gets easier, at least for me, to kind of push to the side and go, I'll deal with that at some point. I'll get to it, and then
Yeah.
not get to it.
Well, I'm glad that you're saying that because honestly, it kind of validates how I've been feeling because I'll tell you, and some of it I will say is a little warranted. I have to give myself a lecture. Um, but it validates, I think, the real reality and the feelings of depression and what it can do. And, I had some guilt while I was in the ER and the ICU and realizing how bad things had gotten. And, but it was good to hear because I just like, I felt so bad. Like, how did I let myself, like, how did I let it get this bad? Why would I do this? But at the same time, like, it like, it's been real. I mean, um, the experience and what I'm feeling, just like, what you were having to go through with your adoption process and everything. And, those aren't easy things to go through,
No,
and they can be emotionally heavy and taxing and can take a lot. And, um, having to like also give myself a little bit of grace and like
Before we go on, I do want to take just a minute to talk about something really, really exciting. Recently, I have launched membership plans on my website, on Butterfly Entertainment. And each tier of membership gets you different perks. We have all the way from getting some content early, like getting podcast episodes early, all the way up to getting producer credit on projects, new films, new shows, things like that. And in the middle, you have opportunities for extra content, mental health podcast episodes. Mental Mondays are back. And discounts on our Turner Syndrome awareness merch. So I will put a link in the show notes. Please head to butterflyentertainment.online. I will also put that link in the show notes to check out our membership plans. They are now open. And the first Mental Monday podcast episode, talking all about mental health every Monday, is available. So if you subscribe before this coming Monday, you will get that episode and be ready to get the next episode when it drops. So head to the link in the description, and I hope you enjoy.
I'm going to have to adjust to the reality as it is. Like, this is where I'm at. I'm here. But it's okay to realize that, because depression is a very powerful real thing. And, you know, it it was so easy, like, and I don't know, um I guess this is how I just put it for me. It was so easy that once I stopped kind of ignoring it and not being on top of things, the easier it got
Yeah.
to just continue to not be on top of things and to let it be that way. And I could only focus on so much. And it was, like I was saying, it was a lot for me just to go and go to work and try and emotionally not let myself break down at work
Yeah.
if there was stuff going on with my mom and stuff. And like, but there were some days where, like, I go to lunch or whatever, and I have an hour lunch break, and I would have panic attacks or cry or break down because I needed to get that out because, you know, um, I knew that I was losing my mom.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of time. And the hardest thing knowing was that was her biggest fear, was getting dementia. And that's what was breaking me, because I knew on some level my mom knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and I just kept thinking about the thing that my mom probably most feared happening to her was happening to her. And, just losing yourself, losing your ability to communicate, losing your ability to just kind of be who you are. Just, I couldn't imagine like how hard that would be. And having to watch the person that gave birth to you just deteriorate like that and see the light go out of her. Um, and I was like, you know what? If I get up and I get myself dressed and I get to work, I'm considering that a good day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I miss a medication or if I fall off schedule with a medication or whatever, if I'm not on top of my blood sugar levels or whatever, I honestly got to a point where I don't care. And then it just got to be like, well, kind of gone this far.
Mm.
And, you know, it was so easy to kind of just let that go. Um, but that was the depression. I was just kind of like, I was checking out of
Yeah.
everything that I possibly could, because I couldn't check out completely from my mom and what was going on with her.
Yeah.
But if I could get one kind of mental break, that's how I felt.
Yeah. Depression is very
But
real, and it's not just,
yeah,
oh, I'm sad and I'm gonna cry. It's a very deep, internal heaviness.
Mhm.
And it's also feeling hopeless, like not being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, not being able to see the hope at the end of the situation. And it steals everything. It steals
Mhm.
your energy. It steals being able to find joy in the little things. It steals all of that. It steals your motivation. And
Yeah.
I think the hardest part for us is our bodies with Turner syndrome are not forgiving.
No.
They keep
No.
score, unfortunately. And so even more, and we're at so much, like, we already start behind, right? Like, we're already at a
Yeah.
high risk of all of these things. So any little ground that we lose adds up even more because we're already so far behind.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just that much more like, gosh, yes, there's things we need to do, there's things we need to be responsible in and keep track of, but also like we're already starting behind. We're
Yeah.
already swimming upstream with a lot of these things. So it's not an easy struggle either way, even when we're on top of it.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
feels heavy.
Yeah. That's
That
true.
weight of like, I I can't take these risks. I can't be lenient in this way because my body doesn't forgive in that and it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
That's that's hard. That's really hard to fight against. And oh gosh, depression is very real. And I think I think part of what I would get stuck in is like the heaviness of having to do all of those things. Like the mental,
Yeah.
like you said, any mental break I can get, I'm going to take.
Mm.
That it
Yeah.
feels like, well, if I don't, then I don't have to think about it. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
you know, it really feels like that. And so it's almost a like, well, but right now, mentally, I feel better. Like,
Mhm.
I don't have one more thing I need to deal with. And so, whatever comes from not dealing with this, like, I do this a lot with my hormones, where I'm like, well, I'm already out of the habit. I'm already not doing great with them. I'll deal
Mm.
with I'll deal with whatever however I'm going to feel and however it's going to affect me later if it does.
Yeah.
And then when it happens, I'm like, why did I do this to myself?
Yeah. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it does give me moments of like the why, like, okay, why do I have to like think of all of these things?
I know.
But I mean, when you find a reason to fight through that, I've started over the last several, like 4 weeks. I'm 4.5 weeks post op right now. I've started over those 4 weeks, like finding my motivation again for, okay, this is like where I know personally, I felt God convicting me in it. Like, I need to take better care of myself. Like, it felt like, okay, this has to be where I change for me
Yeah.
because I knew not making good food choices, I'm being lazy with my hormones, which I'm really bad at, really isn't good because I throw myself all over the place with it. And I just felt like this has to be where I change. I don't want
Yeah.
to I don't want to risk something like that again. And yeah, I want to feel good to do what I want to do. And this is the work it takes to feel good. And while that's annoying, while that's frustrating, I mean, in it, like you were mentioning, it's, well, but what's worse, the health risks of not doing this or the effort it takes to do it?
Right.
It really is, it can feel heavier than it actually is.
Yeah.
Because it's all of these little things that add up to a lot, it can feel heavier when really that one little thing that you were supposed to do right now isn't as big as it can feel. But it does
Yeah.
feel big, and acknowledging that is not a bad thing. That's okay.
Yeah. And I think that that helps
Yeah.
to acknowledge it. And, I think if you're able to acknowledge it and say, yeah, this is a big thing, but, you know, if you can find your why and then just be like, but this is why I'm doing it. So whatever, motivates me, I just have to push through it because the alternative is like a lot less attractive.
Yeah.
You know. So um that's at least for me that's how, I have to remind myself. And it's been since June, but I've had time to reflect and, you know, it just knowing how close um like I came to, not being here. Um, it just, it renews like my motivation and my perspective. And I just have to remind myself, like for me personally, 'cause I was actually talking to one of my friends the other night, actually, and I was saying, I could hear my mom's voice in my head and what she would be saying if she could like physically be there, and I could just hear her on one hand be so glad that, you know, I survived, but also the chewing in which I would have gotten at the same time. And I was joking that like I feel like my aunt was speaking on her own behalf as well as my mother's behalf, because I was like, I swear like I could hear my mom coming through my aunt sometimes and being like, you tell my daughter like to get it together and behave and what she needs to do. I seriously, like my mom liked to call her lectures her warm and fuzzy talks, and neither which were warm nor fuzzy. They were not. Um, but I was saying, I was like, I could literally just in my head tell you like what she would be telling me if she were right in my face. I could like be like, Andrea, what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you kidding me? Um, and I'm like, yeah, I was like, I don't really have an alternative. I gotta, get it together. I gotta, find a way to push through the depression and not let it get the best of me. And, I know that, um, as a Christian, someone that believes, in God, that, um, I feel very fortunate that I am here. And I feel like I would be doing a disservice to, also women in my TS community who aren't here any longer, who have passed because of heart condition related, congenital heart related issues and things. And I'm like, I still got to be here. Why do I want to just, not take care of myself and just do what I need to do? Because I get to, I get to have my voice. I get to be here. And, I just feel like I need to find a way to get through it. And, God wouldn't want me to, you know, be allow myself to stay in this depression. Um, and I think it's perfectly okay to feel what I've been feeling and to go through that. I think
Yes.
in a way I needed to be able to go through that and have the grace to feel those things.
Yeah.
But
And that's normal.
right, and that's normal. But I certainly can't let myself be taken out by my own um, mismanagement and I, and letting depression get the better of me. Um, I was like, depression doesn't deserve to get me. Um, and so, um, I needed to find a way out, and um, it takes time, um, and so I'm doing some things, working through the mental health process, getting, um, working on getting a counselor, someone that I can talk to, someone I can work through these things with. Um, because it's been easy to kind of be just kind of shut myself in and kind of shut myself away from everybody else and not talk about what was going on with me. Um, and that's why I was able to just kind of let things get out of control. But I needed, I needed the time, and grieving is a process, and
Yes.
depression, and whether it's loss of a
Not a
parent
linear
or
process either.
yeah, you were going through a grief process yourself, um, and it's similar, and you know, um, it's different situations, but the grief process is still very real, and you still feel it, and it's um, something that is, you know, um, you have to go through, um, and acknowledge, because it's a very real thing, and that's okay. Um, but I also would hate to. I fought too hard to be here, you know, um, and I would really hate to let depression take me out. So
I'm so glad you're
yeah,
feeling so
I
much better.
refuse to let that happen. So
Yeah.
I'm like, gotta figure it out. Gotta get through this. And you know, yes. So, but I'm glad that, you're doing well too.
Yeah, I'm
So,
so glad you're feeling so much better. I'm so glad you went in when you did, and it just, I don't know. I We as butterflies are so much stronger than we even realize at times. And I frequently have to remind myself of that. Like, I can do this. I can. It may not feel easy. I may not feel like it, but I can. And
yeah.
oh gosh, yes. You are so worth it. As
Yes.
hard as it feels, you are so worth it.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of the times when I talk about this stuff, I'm preaching to myself more than anyone else because I need constant reminders. Like, I very much hear my mom's lectures in my head also. Like,
Mhm.
every time I miss. changing my patch or something, I hear her, Brooke, did you take your hormones?
Mhm.
Gosh. Okay. So it's it's not something I talk about because I've figured it out or I'm great at it in any way. It's just like
Yeah.
I'm learning this, and even more so, like it's been a reminder. It's been a lesson I've had to learn several times over. And thankfully, God has not given up on me learning that lesson yet.
Yeah.
So,
Same.
um, and yeah, I'm, yeah, I'm so glad things turned out the way they did for both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Um, and I'm hoping that um, that this helps, so if somebody, else is going through a similar thing, like that's what I'm here for, always willing, and happy to have somebody reach out. And, if you need a listening ear, be that, listening ear.
Yeah.
Um, because if I can help, help, especially when my TS sisters and I have to learn things the hard way, because I'll do that for you. Um, because I'm the stubbornness, um, that probably you will meet. So often God has to do the hard lesson with me. Like, okay, Andrea, sorry, we're gonna have to do things a little bit the hard way here. So you learn your lesson, but he has grace and hasn't given up on me yet. Um, but I do sometimes have to learn things the hard way, unfortunately. Um, but if I can save somebody from having to do things the hard way, I'm happy to be that and be like, do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing.
I've had moments of I'm like, okay, I know this is what's right.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean, like I said, that doesn't mean
doesn't always mean that I
that I'm
take
gonna
my own
do
advice.
it, that I feel like it. Like there are literal times because of the mental weight
Hmm.
of how much we need to do and keep track of. I'm like, I
Yeah,
have my moments where I'm like, no, I just don't want to.
yeah.
Like literally, that's it. I just don't feel like it. I don't want to.
My inner child comes out. Like I literally feel like my inner child comes out, and it's just like, but no, I don't want to. No, don't make me do that. I don't want to. No.
It just, I don't know. It I feel like not enough gets talked about with that. Like there's so much of the, and I mean, it's true. We are strong, but like sometimes it's not nice to be
But we're
expected to be
human too.
strong. Yes.
Yeah,
The
we're
weight,
we're human, and often, we have to be strong, and we expect ourselves to be strong, and we feel like, we gotta.
there's some weight it adds to you when you're expected to be strong, though.
Right. Yeah.
And so
But
sometimes
it
it's
can be,
like,
it
so it's okay to not be okay.
yeah. And but we're human, and there's gonna be times, yeah. I mean, it's okay to not be okay. Hey, um,
It's okay to not
but
feel
yeah,
right, to feel like you don't want to. That doesn't mean you shouldn't still do
yeah,
that thing, but
yeah,
it's okay to admit, like, no, I just don't want to.
yeah,
I know I need to do it anyways, but I
yeah,
just don't want to.
yeah, yeah. I would, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like a good kind of reward for myself that I can do. Like
Mm,
when I have those moments, I'm like, okay, let me just take 5. Let me just have my little inner child like, I don't want to do this thing. I don't want to.
yeah,
And then be like, okay, now Andrea, you're gonna have to.
yeah,
You don't want to, that's okay, but you're gonna have to. So, let's take care of this, get it done. Um, and then move along.
yeah.
But, like, I think, you know, if there's some positive way to like be like, hey, you know, like I did a little treat myself, like, you know, when because I was telling you about my A1C, you know, with my
Yeah.
A1C being as high as it was like 16.1 when I was in the hospital. Well, I went to the endocrinologist and it went to a 6.9, which is huge drop
Yeah.
from where it was. And so that was exciting. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm working hard. I'm putting in the effort. And, you know, I think that also helped as a motivation and keeps me going, okay. Because when I was thinking about that in the hospital, I was like, do you know how hard it's going to be to get a blood sugar of 16.1 down anywhere at that range?
Yeah, it's
Because
huge.
before it started getting really bad, it was like a 5.7. I was on top of it. I was doing really good. Um, and I'm just like I went from having a 5.7 to all the way up to a 16.1. And now we're at a 6.9 and I'm going to try and work on getting it even lower. Hopefully back to where it was. But, you know, just taking a moment to be like, I'm really proud of that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, um, yay, you
Yeah.
know,
Acknowledge
and
it,
uh,
celebrate it. That's work.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so, you know, anything that kind of helps, you know, motivate, perk you up. And so I had to do a little kind of like treat myself too to be like, okay, I want to celebrate. I'm going to do a little treat because I think I've worked hard. I've had to be really diligent
Yeah.
to get it to drop so fast. And, you know, I'm like, so I'm like, I think I've earned a little something.
Yeah.
So, um, you know,
See, connecting it to something
yeah,
positive when you feel like
mm,
it's hard or it's
mm,
discouraging. Like
mm,
I I'm so annoyed with having to rely on hormones. It's like ridiculous how annoyed I get by it. And even though I know I feel better, like it's silly. The feeling better should be like what I focus on, but I
mm,
I get so in my head about it. And so like connecting it to something nice, like celebrating your numbers, connecting it to
mm,
something positive like, "Oh, okay, I enjoy
yeah,
this. So
yeah,
I'll do that and then do what I enjoy to have
yeah,
a good association
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and have that help give me a little
yeah.
bit of a nicer experience of doing what I already need to do."
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Just something kind of, you know, or even if it's something sometimes too to be like, um, when I had those moments like, oh my gosh, it's just getting to be too much. Just trying to think about, okay, well, maybe if I get this done and I can do this, then, you know, I'll do a little something that I know will make me happy. Find a way because we also need those, you know, kind of mental breathers and breaks.
Yeah.
But find something that that you can enjoy. Be like, okay, well, if that's a treat, or you know, um, maybe just like, you know, going and doing something fun, just something that will help, you know, take your mind off of um, the the overload,
Yeah.
I guess, of everything. But you know, you know, even if it's getting to go out and like hey, I want to just, get a little breather, like, let's go grab a meal or something like that, or just something to kind of, um, that you can enjoy that gives yourself the mental breather
It kind of
rather than just,
contradicts the subtraction of it. Like,
yeah,
it's taking away some of the heaviness. Like, if
yeah,
the heaviness of it is subtracting, doing something that counters that and gives a little positive, it helps
mm-hmm,
balance it and it feels a little
yeah,
less intense or
less heavy.
overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, those are things that I'm learning myself. To figure out what to do rather than just be like, well, it's a lot right now, so I'm just gonna not do it because we know,
Needing the mental
unfortunately,
break is
um,
very valid, though.
we're just, yeah, but it's very valid. But I know, like, I gotta find a different way of giving myself those mental breathers.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but still keeps me um motivated to then, do what I still need to do.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, it's very valid because it's exhausting. It can be very heavy
Yeah.
at times. So yeah, but um, yeah, so uh, similar but different health things, but
Yeah.
um, some good things to talk about too that I don't think that we've gotten to talk about a lot too, and dealing with some of like the mental health stuff is like specifically like with dealing with like depression and things like that happen and
Yeah, that's specifically
because I
connected
can't
to just
talk
the
about those
weight
stuff.
of all of the medical stuff because it does feel like a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
taxing.
It can be. Absolutely. Yep.
So, okay. Well, if
Yeah.
anybody has any questions, any stories they want to share, you can leave it in the comments of the show. You can DM us. We're at Coffee and Turner
Yeah.
Syndrome Podcast on Instagram. And yeah, we would love to hear from you. And if you have any future episode ideas, let us know.
Yeah. We like to hear your ideas. So reach out and absolutely, like I said, if you ever wonder what it's like, either feeling like being in in DK or having a heart attack, or if you think your gallbladder might be acting up, you
Yes,
know,
I
let us
can
know.
I can certainly speak to that and we can share our experiences if you would
Mhm.
like some
Yep.
more detail.
Yep. Absolutely.
0 out of 10 recommend either one though. But
Yeah. No. Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
if you think you might
Out of
be
10.
or would like and are
Yeah.
curious to know, we're willing to share
Yes. We're willing to be your guides on a journey.
and see
But
having
yeah.
laughter about all of it is so good.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to be able to laugh and have a little bit of levity, but
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. But it's great to be recording again and
Yes.
talking with you guys. And yes, reach out with any thoughts, ideas, questions. Um, we'd love to hear it.
Yes. And we'll talk to you guys in the next episode.
We'll talk to you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
The Coffee and Turner Syndrome podcast is a Butterfly Entertainment production. You can keep up with the Coffee and Turner Syndrome podcast on Instagram at Coffee and Turner Syndrome podcast. You can keep up with all of Butterfly Entertainment's podcasts, YouTube videos, films, and other projects on our Instagram page. We are at Butterfly Entertainment Group. Thanks for listening.